Hey, it's Kelly O'Connell, author and attorney, and I am free-forming this one tonight. I'm just kind of going off of what I've been thinking about as opposed to promoting an article. I've been writing an article every day, and I'm kind of getting burned out on it, but I'm not getting burned out on the subject, and the subject for today is why we know for a fact that the Kabul disaster cannot be accidental. And I'm just going to throw this out to you. And I hope you're well. So, just in general, just a summary of my thoughts. I think I put down 11 things that were problematic on my article yesterday. And I could mention them again, but I don't want to do that. What I want to do is to mention to you what I think are decisive thoughts, decisive facts as to proving this is a pre-programmed attempt to trip up America, get us off our game, get us away from our standards, make us look bad, encourage communists or Sharia people across the globe, or Islamic fundamentalists across the globe. This stuff doesn't happen by accident. Okay, a little background first. Joe Biden, as you know now, is not competent to run anything. He can't remember names. When he's walking around, he misses obvious signs of where to turn or where to go. He's giving a speech. Even when he's reading a speech off the teleprompter, he's mispronouncing or misstating words, putting in new words. He's been challenged on what he did in Afghanistan, and he treated it like it's a joke when the day before this guy had fallen out of this plane, or maybe it was 2 days back. This guy had held onto the plane, the U.S. plane, when it took off. This terrible sight. They're flying off, and all of a sudden you see these little specks coming down, and they're two different people that were hanging onto that plane. Now, there were 20 or 30 people hanging on this plane, and I hope that they got off, because some of them were up probably 10 feet in the air and fallen on that, that cement runway would be very dangerous. Not to mention the wheels that would quite possibly run over these people. So just hope that say a little prayer to God that they could have made it. But Joe doesn't know what he's doing. He's winging it. But here's something I want you to think about. Number one, Joe is saying things that are wrong. Somebody told him that there's no problem getting to the airport, and that nobody's getting harmed over there in Kabul. Now, he gets up and says this, and immediately people are groaning. Oh, gosh. And they're groaning because everybody knows that there's already been videos and stories out that have come out. You can't get to the airport. It's better to not be near the airport because the Taliban is going around and it's attacking people who are around the airport, including Americans. The Taliban is killing some people. And so whatever this supposed agreement that we have is not working out. And it's the saddest thing in the world to see a country that's well-meaning, that's very successful because we've had good standards for so long, and is kind-hearted and generous, and we're being put in this situation where we've abandoned our own people, and now we won't fly military back in to pick them up because the individuals that are working for Biden are saying we don't have the skills, we don't have the capability to do it. So the French Foreign Legion has the capability, but we don't. I mean, you just think about that. It's just tragic. So a lot of bad stuff going on. All right, and so let me just kind of lay these things out for you. I don't think it's possible that you have an army in a place where there's also civilians that are supporting the army. and you have people there that are they're contractors or whatever, and there's also missionaries, there's businessmen, there's all kind of people. There's supposed to be 40,000 American people over there. You don't remove the military and then forget to take them with you. That's impossible. It's impossible to forget that. And if Biden did forget that, somebody else below him would remember. And so it's impossible for this Austin, who's kind of like a black Mr. Rogers. He sits down and talks to people like they're 10 years old. That guy who's the head of the he's the head of department that runs all the military, and then you've got Milley, who's he's the head of the military, all the militaries, and neither of one of these guys or nobody who worked for them thought of taking people and taking them, moving them out, flying them out while the military was still there. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't pass the sniff test. Department of Defense, Austin, he's just a moron. John Milley is this guy that gets up and preaches on woke, preaches on anti-white, and you see how this stuff distracts people, but there's more to the story than that. They're purposefully doing this. They're purposely embarrassing us, putting our people into harm's way, getting people killed. Why? Because they want to bring America down. And the Democrats, the leftists, the socialists know that they're not able to do it in a straightforward way. And so they have to get into power. And did they cheat in the election? I don't know exactly what happened, but they cheated in the sense that they went around changing laws in places like Pennsylvania that were not supposed to be changed to help them get more votes in. And they did everything that they could to throw off the vote, and maybe they did vote, did voter fraud. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see the facts, but I know that they misused the media to defame Trump, who was just a guy on TV. He was just a rich guy, and they turned him into Hitler. And then everybody started attacking him because they thought it was insightful, and it wasn't. It was stupid. It was the result of propaganda. So you've got this first thing, abandoning everybody. It's not possible. That kind of thing doesn't happen on accident. Number two, you abandon all of your weapons that, according to some sources, anywhere from about $40 billion to $80 billion worth of weapons, the most high-tech weapons in the world, and we leave it there for the Taliban. So now they're in our uniforms, so now they're shooting our guns and flying our planes and all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, it's awful just to hear about it. In any normal setting like this, you would go and blow up all the weapons. You'd bomb them. And we didn't blow up the airfields, well, which thank God now we can go back and use them. But we didn't blow up this massive. We abandoned. It's my understanding we abandoned the consulate there, $800 million building that they can go in now and use, state of the art. And they can go and take over this massive base that I think once had 100,000 people on it. All right, that doesn't happen by accident. They abandoned Bagram Air Force Base, which is where all these people should be flown out of because we had total control of it. Why would we go to the city civilian airport and fly everybody out there when we can't secure it like we could with Bagram, and we wouldn't have a bunch of weapons over there like we would. So there's no way that happens on accident. And here's another thing. We left all of this stuff that we had collected this data on, and it's called metrics. It's used to get people's information from their eyes, from their fingerprints, pictures of them, and we're using that. We were using that to keep contact with everything, and all of a sudden we leave, and we leave that there. And so we leave all this biometric stuff that would have the kind of thing DNA, or it'd have, pictures of your iris. It would have fingerprints, and it would have histories of all these people. So the Taliban could come in with their tech guys and find out the name of every single person in the nation. There's 80% of these people are in this machine, meaning if you think about it, who would be in this database? It would be all the people that helped. The people that wouldn't be out inside this database would be living out in the hills. So they know now every single person who helped us. It's so insane. And now, so all of these people are going to go around, all of these Taliban are going to go around, and they are going to start killing people. They're going house to house to find out who is on the opposing military, because there's still a civil war going on. There's the people that don't want the Taliban in control, and then there's the Taliban. And the Taliban have within them Al-Qaeda and ISIS. They have all these people mixed in. And when we left, then nobody was securing the prison. So the Taliban just went in and released all the prisoners, and it's the worst of the Taliban and ISIS and Al-Qaeda and all these other things. So that wouldn't have happened. There's no way you just walk away from a prison with a bunch of innocent people living nearby it, and you release thousands and thousands of killers and rapists and terrorists, the worst kind of terrorists. This stuff doesn't happen. They left the base. They flew out one night. They didn't tell the Afghanistan army that we built. So when we were their air protection, we would come in and soften up the Taliban with bombs, and it would help them fight. So we just walk out on that, and then but we're supposedly surprised. And Joe Biden points out the fact that these people quit. Are you freaking kidding? So anyway, none of this stuff happens on accident. It can't happen on accident. That's the kind of accident where if, you hired somebody to work for you to work on, let's say you had a gas station and you paid somebody to work on these tanks to go down and clean them, you wouldn't give the guy cigarettes and say, go ahead, and when you're down there, when you want to take a break, smoke these cigarettes. It's the kind of thing that can't happen. And so what is really gone on is that Joe Biden is an incompetent person, obviously. He doesn't know how to react. He doesn't know how to take in information. He's the president of the United States, but he's incompetent. And so what these people did, these far leftists got together, and they're using him to get what they want. So they wanted a completely open border. Now, don't forget, when Hillary Clinton was running for office, she said she'd have a completely open border to South America, meaning that 600 million people could come up here. Well, that's essentially what you've got. Every person who wanted to come here has come across the border. 2.5 million. And Joe Biden getting up and saying, we have to put on these masks in schools. Well, let's just say out of 2.5 million people that I predict are going to come across the border, because there's no holding them back, and they're coming from 75 different countries, at least 500,000 people of these 500,000 border crossers are going to have COVID. And COVID was supposed to be between 1.5 to 4 people per infected person. They're going to infect that many. But Delta is 3 times more virulent. It's 3 times more communicable than the original COVID. And so what happens then is you take your original numbers of 1.5 to 4 and times them by 3. So you're up to 12. infected per person, and the government is standing up there and pretending it's the authority. And Dr. Fauci, nobody's mentioning all these people, and they're not just coming across the border. The Department of Justice, or whoever it is, Homeland Security, is taking these people in bunches and flying them across the country to large towns, to small towns. And these people are coming in and they're sopping up all of the homeless budget, the rooms, the meals. The government is also paying for people to stay in hotels. And it's an incredible amount of money. And so it's going to cost, from some research I did, 70 or 80%, 70 or 80,000, dollars per year to take care of these people. There's 2.5 million of them coming over this year. So what's happening is that there's certain standards that America has. Those standards are being abused and rejected by the Democrats, and then they act like they've got super standards, and they're constantly attacking Trump or Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio or Scott, the old Governor Scott, who's now a senator in Florida. Across the United States, they're attacking these people, and they're suing. Texas tried to stop the just absolutely open border with all these people coming in. They started arresting them and putting them in jail. So now the Department of Justice is suing Texas on this. And Joe Biden stopped all of the stuff that we had at the border a year ago, approximately. A year and a month ago, we had 16,000 people that we caught coming across the border. Trump's tactics worked to stop people from coming across the border, and Biden got rid of all of it. So you've got this incredibly contradictory and crazy government that's just doing what it wants, and the media, because the media is pro-Democrat, pro-liberals, pro-socialist, they're not saying anything about it. But then they send Biden in to take care of Afghanistan, and what happens is the left, these people who've got control of the president, are giving him marching orders, and they're inconsistent with the policies and the procedures in the history of the U.S. military. Nobody ever takes an army out. The military never just leaves an area and leaves all the civilians of its own country behind. And they act like it's no big deal. They act like they forgot about it. Now everybody's mad at Biden, and Biden's getting trashed. But what you have to see here, it was always a plan. This was always planned to happen. It's the only way to understand the things that are occurring now. They're so bad that they had to be on purpose. You see what I'm saying? Now, Biden, there's going to be something for impeachment. There's going to be something for an investigation of what's going on. They're going to demand Biden leave. And so who's going to come in? Kamala. Now, Kamala's getting torn up right now. Nobody likes her, but she is supposed to be a real communist. And she's going to be more organized in her thinking and presentation, and all they have to do is switch things over to Kamala. So what's trying to happen? What are they trying to do here? Why are they trying to do it? Because they're trying to destroy our economy by paying people to not work, millions of people. They're trying to destroy the economy with COVID rules that don't make any sense, mask mandates, closing restaurants and bars, that type of thing. You know, the masks don't work. But it doesn't matter because they're attacking the economy. That's the purpose. They want to spend $6 trillion this year when the economy is roaring back. So you're taking all of the money that's printed up that could be borrowed by the private sector, and you're diverting it over to the government to use for their stuff. So that's derailing the growth of the economy. I mean, bring up another topic for me. Mention another topic. You create chaos and you burn bridges and you go back on your word in Taliban. And you know what? It harms every relationship we have. We have relationships with Germany and Japan where we give them we build for them their defense because of World War II. Well, now what do you think they're going to do? Because we don't keep our word, we do crazy stuff. We have military bases across the world. The people that have military bases in their countries are nervous now because they don't know if the military is now crazy. You've got insane people. You've got Mark Milley, who's completely woke and is more concerned with, trans in the military or racism in the military than winning wars. You got all these former generals that had attacked Trump. So what you're ending up with is a perfect storm of crazy leftism. It is crazy to pretend the most important thing in the world is wokeness, is anti-racism. I don't even need to tell you that racism is bad. You know that. You don't need someone lecturing at you every day on racism. Every single day. You don't need people fired and thrown out of their jobs because when they were 12 they sang the words of a rap song. Or made a gay joke when they were 14 at the prom. You don't need all this stuff, but that's what's happening is common sense is being thrown out the window. Their purpose, and it's in the history of leftism, the history of Marxism and socialism, the key is to get a hold of the economy, get a hold of the political system, and destroy everything so it can be rebuilt into world leftism, world socialism, world communism. Now that sounds crazy, it sounds stupid, it sounds ridiculous, but you know what? There is no other way to explain what's going on now. And what we need to do is gather together and begin to fight these people. We need to get them out of the military. We need to get Joe Biden out of the presidency. We need to keep Kamala from doing anything more harmful. We need to take them on in the courts. Everybody can see this terrible danger that's going on, and nobody wants to do anything about it. And because they don't want to be destroyed, John Roberts is afraid to stand up for the court, except to insult Trump. But when you don't stand up, the bullies thrive, and that's what's going on. And it's happening around the world to embarrass America. And the reason they hated Trump was because they saw what a badass he was and how he wouldn't get pushed around. All right, I got some weird news for you. Hold on. All right, so here are your weird news stories. First off, a Miami highway sign, and this is in June 23rd, was hacked to read arrest Fauci, and they were able to take it down, but you can tell there's still a lot of anti-Fauci out there down in Miami. Seattle Pride event to charge white people $50 in reparations. And so what they did is they had this pride, this gay parade in Seattle, and the white people who wanted to be involved, they wanted to charge them $50 in reparation fees so that they could pay for the black people to be involved for free. And it caused a disagreement, and the leaders of the group were opposed to it, but the people who had put the pride together, the pride march together, said it was okay because black people hardly ever get this chance to get freebies in these type of situations. You've got another story here which is kind of sad. Married couple found shot dead 4 days after going missing on a camping trip, and it was two women who'd married each other, Kylan Schulte and Crystal Beck, and they didn't show up for work for 2 days, and so they were in Moab, in the mountains of Moab, which I used to live by, southern Utah, and so they were together. They'd been married for 4 months, and they were together, and then they saw some man that had freaked them out, and the next thing you know, they were shot dead. So I'm not sure. I'll have to do a further investigation to see if they ever found somebody, but pretty weird. Anyway, okay, thanks for tuning in. And folks, look, man, I hate talking about leftism. I hate talking about socialism. I hate claiming something's a communist plot. But you've got to understand, the people on the left, that's all they have. All they have is communism. All they have is Karl Marx. All they have is trying to get people, power over people, and try to force them to do the right thing. And that's why we need to fight back. We're going to lose this country. We've already lost enormous prestige in this nation around the world, because people are going to ask, how is it possible that one mentally deranged person, the president, can do all this crap? And the answer to that is, it's not just one person. It's tens of thousands of people who are helping out. It's the woke generals. It's the media, who only talk about the problems on the right. It is all of these military people that were put into place, and it's this group of people in Washington, D.C. that is helping to brainwash and force. And really, I don't know if they're having to force it. I mean, Joe Biden is so sick, he's so mentally ill, or I should say his brain is so diminished he can't use common sense anymore. So all of this stuff, it's explained to them, and then they explain to him something else, and then he gets up and says it, and people are like, no, that's not true, that's not true. And it just makes him look worse. It gives them an excuse to get him out and blame all of the bad stuff on Biden, and then move on to their next plot. It is kind of clever, really. Now, even Tony Blair, who's a pretty liberal guy, said that it was terrible what happened, and it was the mistake that was made in Afghanistan, and it was done, instead of done as a military maneuver, it was done as a political stunt. So let's keep talking about this. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you have a great day. Kelly O'Connell, and give me a thumbs up, add yourself to my channel, and let's talk again tomorrow. Ciao.